I don't know about you, but I think this, clearly, is a pretty interesting blaster. What's good, everybody? Valor here once again, and today we are taking a look at the ZWQ S100 War Saint. It is a fully injection molded pump action Springer blaster from a company that used to make gel ball blasters, and this is one of their first attempts at making something for the foam flinging hobby. The only other blaster I'm aware of from them is the S200 Fire Rat, which you better get subscribed because you know I'm going to be taking a look at that thing. It comes disassembled from the factory in a very nice box, which I'd expect from a higher-end, gel ball blaster company. And the instructions are a bit on the lacking side. They do skip around a little bit, and things aren't quite fully clear, but I was able to feel my way through it during the stream where I actually assembled this thing, which is now available for patrons. And in the end, I chose the longest barrel and the strongest spring. Now, you can swap out the barrels and springs on this, just by using a single screw on the bottom here, though you might be able to just get away with the friction of the centering clamps inside the blaster. I still have it secured with the single screw just to keep things from moving, and the spring can be swapped out by pulling out the entire stock assembly by undoing 3 screws. One thing to mention about the stock is that it is spring loaded, though mine has an issue. It does have the spring to actually eject itself out, but the plastic on my sample was a bit brittle and actually snapped the top retainer for the stock there. So now my stock can completely fly out if it desires. I'm going to have to try to figure out a way to fix that, but it is something to mention for the sake of the review because, you might encounter this similar issue. And as something to say about the whole blasters, this clear plastic tends to be a little bit on the brittle side. Several people have had issues with small fractures showing up in certain spots. Wacom's has certain cracks around some of these screw holes. Mine doesn't seem to have too many currently, but I haven't been running it too terribly hard, apart from my standard, dry firing and everything, just to make sure it doesn't break itself from accidentally dry firing. But it might be possible to actually over tighten some of these screws and really crack the plastic, which is something to be wary of. I have seen that they offer this blaster in, solid plastic colors, but the only one that I've seen from Monkeemods currently is the fully clear and then fully clear with some smoky gray, say the lower and the top rail. This seems to be a common issue with clear plastics in toys and stuff, where the clear plastic tends to be very brittle. It's an issue that's plagued Transformers, it's plagued Beyblades. It's something to be wary of. Hopefully it's just a batch issue, and this first initial batch that was sent out to reviewers is the only one that's really brittle. But as I said before, that is something to be wary of. Take it with a grain of salt, but hey, gotta roll with the punches. Up on the front, we've got the shotgun style grip that comes with it. There is a section of Picatinny underneath this pump here, but I ended up going with just the standard shotgun pump because the slightly angled grip that comes with the package tends to slip off, which I've seen in Wacom's video, and I'm afraid of that happening again, so I'd rather go safe with it. And it is a good grip. Got plenty of ribbing and everything, and especially if you have gloves, it works just fine. Just wrap a finger around the front, and it works just fine. Moving on back, you got the aluminum bolt handles that go right into the priming linkage. You can actually prime the whole thing off of the bolts, but it is a little more difficult to do with the heaviest spring, so it's more of a aesthetic thing than anything else now. Moving down to the magwell, this is a printed adapter that was put out by Monkeemods for this blaster because the mag it comes with actually looks a bit like a 5.56 mag. That's about the same exact size as 5.56, which kind of makes sense considering this whole blaster is shaped similarly to the FN Scar. This adapter is just friction fit in place with the clip, and there are some spring-loaded detents inside the magwell. Mine's a bit weak. I'm going to have to probably reprint this and rebake it, but that is just a print tolerance thing. Nothing to worry about. On back, you've got the massive plunger tube. This has one of the largest plunger tubes I've seen in a blaster, apart from like a Caliburn or Worker Swift, and the safety down here. I do not like this safety. because one, it was very finicky to assemble because there are small springs and very small ball bearings that you need to put into it to actually get it to go together and work properly, but it is very easy to bump and put into the safe, which means, you know, you're going to not be able to fire. So I find it's easier to just turn it all the way forward so it's not even locked into a position, and it works just fine. It uses a sliding style trigger like a long shot and a roller style catch, which this catch is good, but the springs it comes with are very thin and they're slightly too long, I found, for the whole system, because the springs will actually buckle on themselves whenever you put this whole top strip down. There is a middle hole for a larger diameter spring, but no resting hole in the catch plate itself. So if I had a spring that would fit there, I would have actually gone with that instead, and it would have been a whole lot better and had much less issues putting this thing together. I had to try to put this thing together like 3 or 4 different times with this top plate because those thin springs were buckling. And in the end, I actually snipped off a few coils of each one. Speaking of the top rail here, it goes pretty much all the way back to the cheek rest here, and in the top rail here is an extension spring to act as your bolt return, which means you can actually prime it back with the bolts and then let it go. But I'd still recommend pushing the bolt forward to make sure the O-ring seats into the barrel. The barrel is actually chambered like worker barrels, so you can actually swap it out with whatever else you have on hand. This is the, I believe it's a 35 centimeter one. I could be wrong. You know, correct me if I'm wrong there. But it has the chambering on it, so you can swap it for worker barrel or whatever. And finally, on the side, there are some nice anodized sling loops on the front and back, which is very nice to see from a blaster like this, because if you have a 2-point sling, you want things to be nice and sturdy, and these will not give out. The rest of the blaster will crack and break before these sling loops actually do, which is quite nice. Now, performance I'm getting with this, I'm tickling that 300 FPS mark, and accuracy is quite good with the right scar. In the firing footage you're seeing right here, I had a custom 3D printed Merlin on the blaster that was meant for the Lynx, but I wanted to give it a shot, and I had some erratic shots, but with the right scar, this setup will be deadly accurate. And even then, with some wild shots, I was still able to land hits on that target about 3 or 4 times, which is not bad, given that I was about 100 feet away. Now, to buy or not to buy? The closest thing I can compare this to is the Worker Swift, obviously by Worker. This is a $180 package, comes mostly pre-assembled, apart from having to put the upper and lower together. This is a $150 package, but you have to assemble it. Whether or not the price difference is worth it is more up to personal taste, but I still think this is a worthwhile blaster because it is more, friendly to tinkering, which you can, set aside an evening and get this thing assembled. This one only took me about 2.5 hours with live stream chat, stopping me and helping me out along the way. This, you pull it out of the box, put the upper and lower together, put in a few screws, there you go. Another thing to keep in mind is they both perform very similarly, just depending on the setup you have. This is a little bit harder to swap out springs and barrels. The Worker Swift is dead simple, but this is still quite good. But that's all I can really say on it right now. If you're interested, I'll leave a link down below to Monkeemods where you can get this blaster. And if you're interested in buying anything off of Monkeemods, including this or the upcoming S200 Fire Rat, be sure to use code VALOR at checkout for 5% off and to help support the channel. Big thanks to the patrons that are scrolling on the screen right now. As ever, my name is Valor. Thanks for watching.